This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. The Middle Ground Mike is fighting for truth and unity. Subscribe now or support us today. Links are in the notes. Stand with us.
Also, the sort of the thing that makes being a journalist so interesting right now is that we've reached a point where once upon a time it was very hard to get inside the companies that shape so much of what we experience and how we experience it, because the people working there were very idealistic and very loyal to the leadership. And we're now at a phase where there's some, pretty disillusioned folks kind of coming forward with, and blowing the whistle. And so you don't have to take my word for it. You can look at accounts like Frances Haugen, who leaked a bunch of stuff out of Facebook. Well, she was a employee there who used her phone each day to take photographs of whatever she could in some of the internal research in Facebook. And as a result, we learned things like that there had been a big presentation created to, show advertisers that you could get at teenage girls at moments of their most deep insecurity, right? We learned that the all-encompassing drive for profit was causing these companies to, in many cases, do very openly immoral things. And then, the most recent example is a very fascinating book by Sarah Wynne Williams, who was a top global policy person at Facebook, joined the company specifically because she knew that Facebook was going to be such a powerful part of politics. And she convinced them to create this role for her at a time when nobody really was thinking about that. And before she knew it, she was, introducing Mark Zuckerberg to the prime ministers of all these different nations all over the world and being part of his efforts to sort of be a kind of global statesman. And in her book, she describes again and again the places in which, a very serious, sort of bad political effect, i.e. either overweighting the places in which people's emotions get away from them and they fight with one another online, overweighting toward that as opposed to what you would in theory want in a democracy, which is to bring people together for rational debate. She just sort of shows again and again in that book that the way the system is optimized for engagement so that you will stay on it as long as possible and be exposed to as much advertising as possible means that it turns out not to be a great place for debate, and that in many ways the business model was working against making us a more civilized society. And so for me, that's the sort of headline, is like this thing that was supposed to bring us all together and is marketed as an instrument of community and connection has turned out to be an extremely divisive thing. And that's because that's been the best way to make money in that business.